Now, you've mentioned your guides a few times, and again, I know that this is something that many people have questions about. Where are my guides? Who are my guides? What are their names? If you talk a bit about how did you get to know your guides? Are they the same guides you've had throughout your entire life? Do you work with different ones? Let's
So
go there.
well, let's go there. So how you're asking me that, you're phrasing it is very human of you. So most people that ask it are so human. What's the guide's name? Where do they come in? They're way beyond that human stuff. So guides don't. I always tell people guides don't have names per se. Think of them as energy around you. And it's not their job to knock you over the head and say, "Here I am." It's your job to open yourself up and feel them and sense them. So you can ask the spirit guide to come around you and let themselves be known to you in some way, in a subtle way. I always say, use energy. What does their energy feel like? And when you're working, it's different for each person, but sense the energy of the guide. A healing guide feels very different than a philosophy guide, than a career guide. They're all very different. A joy guide are children. I mean, sometimes animals can be your guides too, of unconditional love. So there's all different vibrations that you have to tune into, that you become aware of when you're with your guides. It's not what the name is; it's who they are, really. Because many spirits will come through and say, "You would know me. You would have known me by the name I used then, called Ben. My name I used, Ben. That's the name I used in the physical world, but I'm not Ben here. I'm more than that." See, and guides tend to, before we come back in the lifetime, we all sit and prepare our lifetime, go through our the classes we're going to take in the school this time, and our curriculum, and we get help from our guides, teachers, philosophers, and we will pick the best opportunities for our own soul's growth. And almost maybe some karmic obligations we have to go through. It's all about learning. So we're going to learn this side. We're going to learn about suicide. I'm going to learn about living with in a hard way, or whatever it might be. There are all these different conditions. I'm going to learn about divorce. I'm going to learn about dying of a disease. What am I going to learn? And there are the soul group too that you're with. Everybody's with a soul group, and those are our family and friends. And they're our greatest teachers because they are a reflection of you, especially in your soul group. So we do pick our families. But if I always say to the people, if you have an issue with a family member, then what inside you is not in wholeness of being. Because if they're triggering some buttons, that means that something's not whole within you. So you have to look at yourself. Because people in your life, especially family, are mirrors to yourself. That's really what they are. So your guides are with you to pick out your life, your classes, to work with you on that. And as you go through life, you will have those guides who have never been touched the earth before. They're guides that help you with your work to do in this earth while you're here in school. And there can, depending on the type of work you have. So there are guides that stay with you through lifetimes. There are guides that come to you in opportunity, called opportunity guides. So they will come to you, let's say you're going to learn how to do oil painting, but you don't really know it. There'll be a guide behind you impressing you to use innate gifts that are within your soul that have that ability of oil painting, but they have to get out of your ego and again use that. And their music guides, of course, they help you with the innate gift of music you might have. So they help you with that. Mediumship, when I was developing, I had scientists that worked with me, I had doctors that worked with me, and philosophers, and that was 40 years ago. Over the years, things have changed a bit because I've developed. So when you develop, your guides develop. So it's that way. They grow too. Now you've reached a certain point, you might need a different guide now. So again, the medium always has to be willing to learn to expand and to grow. And as you do that, the spirit guides will, and your teachings will. I was once had a near-death experience, and months after that, I was doing an event, and this girl that was heading the event, and it was with 2,000 people. She said, and she'd watched me for years. She said, "James, your readings have changed quite a bit. Your readings have changed. You're in a higher vibration. The meaning, it's very profound what you're saying." And I understood that. I thought, yeah, you're right. You're right. That sounds, because it sounds like that. So they change depending upon your life. Now, let's say that opportunity guide is there just to help you oil paint or music. When that's done, they move on. See, that's really important. So it's always changing, but there are some that are always there. And you can always call upon them, but you got to get out of the way. So it's like, I need help as a healing guide. And for instance, I went to training, I was going to trance, and I was doing an event for 200 people at Omega Institute, and there was a healing section. And I went to an altered state of consciousness, and they were a little out of it. And I was, not me, I was a vessel, but someone came through and we're healing them, take away a debris from their fields and their chakra points and opening them up, right? And it was so interesting because as I was aware, and anytime you're in trance, you're aware what's going on. It's almost like you're in a different room, but you're aware. I had a Zulu warrior come through to me. I had Edgar Casey came through, very clear. I had a religious person come through, and that's what I remember it. And it was just very ceremonial, and it's amazing. So all different types of guides. So be open every day for, they work with you. They always do.
So many questions are popping in my head now. I have to choose which one to ask first. I was really intrigued by what you were saying. If you want to do an oil painting, there's a painter right behind you, and they're impressing this upon you. And it reminded me of when I was much younger, where I would feel stubbornly, I want to do this myself. Go away. And then, of course, I had no guides helping me. So once I learned, you got to let this come through. But that's where the ego comes in, where
Yes.
I want to do this myself. I do want to do this myself, but sometimes I need help. And if a guide is helping me, do they get, I guess, credit, for lack of a better word, for this creation? Or is it because we're all just one big being that I'm just tapping into this sort of archetypal bubble and bringing forward some creation? What's your view on that?
And it's exactly, from my understanding, is that the egos can be a messy thing. The earth mind gets in the way. We want to do it, but you are doing it. You're doing it from a higher level. Your higher self is really what's doing it. And the higher self is feeding into the lower self. So all the things that are created are first created in the spirit world. They materialize there, and then they're brought down through the physical. So your higher self is working with those beings on that higher level to manifest the materials you'll need and the aspects of your soul, and bring that down to you to open up and do it. That's some of the greatest masters of music and art have had. They're all mediums. Everyone's a medium to that degree. And they use that energy to manifest that creation. So when you pass over to the spirit world, you'll see all the greatest works of art because they started there first. And that goes true with all beautiful inventions that were created. It comes to the spirit world first, and then it's brought down to the physical person. So scientists, inventors, the doctors, people, scientists that create, they create these medicines. They do. And it's interesting because they will, when the scientist is open and they get out of the ego, same with everyone, they can receive this bright information of putting these complexes together to create a solution. And there's a fine line there, because can everything have a medication for everything? Can everything be healed? We don't know that big question, because through that experience, many situations occur of self-growth, and so it's a fine line, But yeah, it's so interesting for people to know that everything starts there first with a thought. The last place it ends up is the physical body. Just like in dis-ease, many times it is because the prana, the energy flowing through the vessel, is blocked. Let's say there's an emotional upset, and it blocks the energy in the heart. And that, if that stays that way and it's not worked on, that will start corroding. It'll start blocking that blockage will start getting bigger and bigger and start corroding, and it'll mess up that balance. It'll create an imbalance in the body, and everything's get affected by that, because thoughts, mental body, physical, spiritual, and spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional bodies are all together. They're all interacting. So when something is off, let's say a grief in this case, and if that's not dealt with, it's kind of like a seesaw. When one thing is off, it throws off the mental body, because you'll feel depressed and upset. The spiritual body, oh, how could God do this? Yeah, your emotions are all upset, of course. And physically, you don't feel like moving or running. So it affects us. And I see that all the time, Lisa. And the other thing I'd like to address lately, the past 6 months, when I've worked with people, and maybe because of the post-pandemic, but I'm able to see energy more and more, which is really interesting. I see the worry energy all the time with people, all around the shoulders. And I'd say to them, you have a shoulder problem, you have a headache, you have a neck. Yes, it's because that energy of worry is there. And many people tend to take other people's energy on. That worry, like their family. Let's say a mother takes on her kids who are still living, but she's concerned about their college or whatever. And that worry energy stays there. And she's also sending it to them, because when you think of someone, the intention, that's your aim. It's like bullets, and the target is who you're thinking about. So those bullets of thought go right to that person. And if you love them, you don't create worry in their space either. It's all about energy.
Yeah. Again, more questions popping in my head. Let me take it from what we were just talking about. You were saying that over the past few months, the energy is changing, and many of us have noticed that things are not the way they used to be, and
No.
that's not necessarily a bad thing. It feels like it could go either way. We could either go careening off a cliff in a clown car, or we could collectively get our stuff together and create a really interesting, groovy new future. What are your thoughts on that as far as the energies changing?
Well, I think it's, it's all about love. There's nothing but love. It really isn't. And it's really, the human is like this compared to the expansive consciousness of the universe, which is pure love. Fear is of the human. Fear is not of the spirit world. Fear is the ego, FEAR, false ego appearing real. See? And the human wants to be in control. There is no control. We don't have control. You can't control the people. You can't control a situation, or you can't control how you respond to something. That you can control. But so we are given all these situations. We're just given the pandemic. How is the human person going to behave? What are they going to be taught by that? Well, throw them into the clown car and go freak out and get fanatic, or are they going to go to inside and become more aware of themselves, become more aware that they're a loving being? When the pandemic started, I did God, it was, I think, every day, or I think it was every day. I did something called soul care. And it was a half an hour each day, because I knew people were getting sick and tired of that energy of fear, and they were upset. They didn't know what to do. So many people started saying on the news, these experts, stay at home, stay at home. And I told people on my podcast that what that really means to me is, now you have an opportunity to go home within, go in and start understanding. It's a great time for assessment. It's an opportunity for an assessment. And I believe, Lisa, that every single day we're given opportunities. And it's the human being, that human being gets in the way, that ego gets in the way. If we just let that go and realize we're much more than just the human part, this is like, 20% of who we are, or more than that. And this is an opportunity to grow and to love and to share with other people, if we are aware of that. But there are so many people that are the walking dead down here. I really mean it. It's like everyone's like, was zombied out here, because I think that show Zombies did well, because everyone's a zombie. People don't want to take the responsibility. I think they're, by fear, or they're programmed not to go into themselves, not to believe in miracles. Miracles happen every day, and it's just that they have to start opening themselves up and getting deep in the heart. And the heart is where the seed of the soul is. And they got to get in tune with that. So I think all these opportunities are around us right now, and it's a rich time right now, because all these craziness things are happening and people are freaking out.
Thanks for listening. Check out Castle Gate, a novel based on my own ancestral healing journey, at lisabonis.com. In 1921, 4 men set off from Scotland to the United States. Will Garrock, his brother Pete, his son Willie, and his nephew Thomas, all coal miners. They left behind the miners' rows and the nationwide mining strike with its soup kitchens. Their destination was Castlegate, Utah, where they had kin to welcome them before sending for their wives and children. They prospered in America, working in one of the finest mines in Utah. Until that tragic day, March 8th, 1924. Disaster struck. 3 explosions, trapping 171 men inside. Rescue crews worked tirelessly for days, but sadly, they could not save a soul. Women were widowed and children were orphaned, and some never recovered from their broken hearts. Castlegate is the true and tragic saga of a Scottish family whose dreams of finding their fortunes in the bountiful coal mines of Castlegate, Utah during the Prohibition era explode in one of the most devastating mine disasters in American history. Learn more at lisabonis.com.